Hey guys, what's up? JK with 20s Mentor here, and today we're going to talk about how natural talent doesn't matter. Have you ever told yourself that your lack of success in a particular area in your life is because you are not natural at that thing, or because you're not born that way? Now, it's normal to do that sometimes, but if it's limiting you in any area of your life, we're going to address it today, and I'm going to show you how it does not matter. First of all, I must say that all men are not born equal.
All men are not created equal.
Some people are born better looking than others. Some have personality traits that make them more charismatic or naturally talented at various things. And even entire groups of people have genetics which make them suitable to do things in a different and sometimes an even perceived better way than others. And that's the truth. However, those who are born with seemingly natural talents still had to work extremely hard to become massively successful at it. They're also extremely rare individuals. They're not rare in terms of their numbers, but they're rare in the sense that not many of them experience a series of events which allows them to capitalize on their talents. For instance, people like Tiger Woods, Mozart, Michael Jackson. Not only did these three men have talent, but from a very young age, that talent was nurtured to a very high level. And without the nurturing of natural talent, we would never have heard of them. Those are just the people whose pasts are known. Many massively successful people succeeded in spite of themselves and experienced childhoods with almost no sign of nurturing. Oprah Winfrey, for instance, overcame a past of repeated sexual abuse at the hands of multiple family members. She was also fired from her first job and went on to become a billionaire and a person whose brand is so well known that we need only mention her first name. Richard Branson is a billionaire who cannot balance a checkbook. He cannot use a computer, and he's a high school dropout. Yet almost every business that he gets involved in is a massive success. Personally, for years, I interviewed hundreds of college students for a door-to-door selling job. And one thing I learned is that your beliefs about your natural ability or lack of it can seriously limit your future. You give it permission to run your life, or you can deny it that permission. So it is very helpful if you choose to rise to the top of a field to identify what you're naturally good at. So for instance, if you're good at playing football, but not in the top 10%, you're probably never going to play in the NFL. Not because your sheer will and determination can't get you there, but because there's a limited number of spots for a group of people who are specifically nurtured to be there. So really spend time discovering this. There is something or some things which you do better than others. A good example is entrepreneurship. So these days, everyone feels that they can be an entrepreneur. But the reality is that hating your job or not being able to hold a job does not make you an entrepreneur. Now, it takes many traits to become an entrepreneur, traits which are not taught in school. And there's a lot of advice floating around on the internet about finding the best opportunity and the best niche to start a business in. But the advice that you should pay attention to in your 20s is not where the money is. It's which opportunity is best for you based on your talents. So identify that and hone your skills in that area. So what if you're just not sure what your skill sets are? See, I was terrible at school. I had immense social anxiety. I had low self-esteem, and I didn't think much of myself. But I always had this dream of leading a company. And this may sound silly, but here's where it came from. So when I was a kid, I used to play a game on PlayStation called Tekken. And more than playing the game, I loved the cutscenes. And I also loved reading the inserts in the CDs, which told the stories of the characters.
和也よ、お前に三島を継ぐ資格があるか見せてもらうぞ。
So I actually spent a lot of time reading these inserts because I grew up in what is, as of 2018, the poorest country in the world. So we rarely had electricity. So I would look forward to the games by reading the inserts in the CDs. Anyway, my favorite story was that of Kazuya and Heihachi Mishima. And they were a father and son They ran the Mishima conglomerate. Now, I'd never heard the word conglomerate before, so I ran to my dictionary and I looked it up. And conglomerate, I believe it means different businesses which are put together to form a powerful business entity that has a lot of influence. So I felt it was a very powerful word, and for some reason, as I always picked Heihachi and Kazuya as players in the game. Maybe because I could identify with them as somebody who didn't have power and I wanted to have power, I don't know. But for some reason, I eventually decided that I was going to form a conglomerate one day, and that's pretty audacious thinking for a kid in a third world country. Unfortunately, I was never groomed to become the CEO of a large conglomerate. Instead, for the next few years, it seemed that life was determined to show me how much of a loser I was and keep me in my place. That is, until the day that I turned 20. And that day was the day I accepted the fact that I sucked at many things in comparison to others my age. See, I realized that I had to put myself in tougher situations than others in order to learn. And you may have to do the same as well. The first opportunity for me to learn came in the form of a summer internship selling books door to door for a commission. This eventually rekindled the possibility of me building my conglomerate, okay? See, what I learned was that early in my sales career, I figured out that in order for me to become an entrepreneur, much less somebody who ran a conglomerate, I needed to develop certain traits and skills. And at the time, I was a cold calling salesman door to door. So I spent years learning how to become a great cold caller in person. So walking into people's homes, selling to them, and then I learned how to prospect, I learned how to close sales, and I learned how to build and lead organizations. My point is, I wasn't sure what my skills were, but I knew what I wanted to do. And I realized that if I did not know them, the next best thing was learning skills which would never die. And selling is one such skill. I did not have a natural talent for selling. I forced myself to learn how to sell. If you don't know what your skill sets are, I recommend focusing on one of 3 skills, especially if you're in your 20s. And those are selling, marketing, and public speaking. Within each of those skills, there are also sub-skills which you can pick up, which will ensure that while you're at least discovering what you're good at, what your talents are, you're never gonna go broke. And whether you like it or not, you're never gonna go broke. Now, within selling, there is the skill of closing. In marketing, there's copywriting. In public speaking, there's platform selling, which is selling from the stage when you're speaking to multiple people. Let's talk a little bit about IQ tests. You know, I remember when I was in high school, everyone was talking about IQ. And funnily enough, the IQ thing has popped up again recently. I've seen it around. But whether IQ is a thing or not, the important thing to know is that it has nothing to do with whether or not you are going to be successful in life or in any career. And this is not conjecture. First of all, let me state this. I personally have never passed an IQ test. In fact, I've never been able to complete one. I just throw my hands up when I get to the third question. I just do something else.
Are you dumb or something?
And my experience with that was I recruited many smart people with very high IQs from some of the best colleges in the United States over a 6-year period. And most of them struggled with selling because they were too analytic and they overcomplicated the selling process. On the other hand, I also recruited people who could not do basic math and they barely knew how to do long division. Yet these individuals not only killed it in sales most of the time, but they were often amazing, passionate recruiters. You know, in 1995, Harvard lecturer Daniel Goleman wrote the book Emotional Intelligence. In his research, he discovered that traditional IQ tests could not predict a person's success. So in his book, he put together a different, more accurate measurement of intelligence based on people's reactions to life situations. See, while it may be very challenging for you to raise your IQ as an adult, don't worry. You can certainly raise your EQ or your emotional intelligence. Now, I'm not really here to philosophize, okay? I'm here to guide men in making choices in your 20s that will lead you to success. So regardless of what your weaknesses are, regardless of how others have judged you, your decision to rise above those definitions is very, very powerful, okay? Stop letting these things hold you back.
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. You know, while the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
That's all the time I have for today. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with other men. Visit me on Instagram at 20s Mentor and visit the website 20smentor.com for more no BS resources to succeeding in your 20s.